Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 34 of Molehill Mountain. Andrew Eisen here, along with Zachary Knight. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, Andrew. How's your week been going?
Well, my week personally, it's been going all right. Although I do have a very large bruise on my abdomen because one of my trainers decided it would be fun to smack me repeatedly in the gut with a stick while I was doing hanging leg raises, which is you hang from a bar and you bring your feet up to the bar, bending at the waist, so the
Hmm.
legs keep straight, toes go to bar, and when I come back down, whack me in the stomach. Um, he caught me just right one of those times, and my abdomen is so black I could be shirtless right now, and you wouldn't know it. That's how bruised I am. Um, do,
I think we have somebody that needs
uh,
blocked from chat.
let's see. Remove block. There we are. And there we are. Okay. All nice, all nice. So, yeah, and he actually texted me a little while ago and said, "I'm so sorry." And some dude, it's okay. I mean, I knew what you were doing. If I told you not to do that, you would have stopped. And next time we'll just have to that big metal stick thing he was using. We'll just have to put a shoulder pad wrap on it, and to keep it from damaging my goods. But you know, doesn't even hurt anymore. I mean, it's a really nasty black bruise. I mean, it looks terrible, but eh,
Yeah.
it happens. For anyone wondering, the point of doing something like that is essentially just to keep your core tight and engaged, because when you get tired, you do have a tendency to just and just let everything relax and settle, and you need to keep everything together and tight,
Hmm.
tension. So some of the things you can do is, and I mean, he wasn't like hauling up, like trying to hit a home run. I mean, it was just like you do, massages like this. It's that kind of a thing. In fact, that's another thing you can do is do that on someone's abdomen while they're doing sit-ups, like on a Bosu ball or something like that.
Hmm.
And I've known people like one of my friends, Crystal. Uh, she has way, way, way too much fun when she does that. She's like doing a Buddy Rich solo, and because she's not just working it. She's like She does this face. She's so happy, which is kind of funny. But occasionally you're like, okay, 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 that's enough. Um,
Yeah.
so I am now the owner of a PS4, which I have been for quite a while, but it's been sitting in its box over there, waiting for Yakuza 0 to come out, which it came out, and I've been playing it the last couple of days, and it is very fun. Uh, I am disappointed in one regards. I think the finishing moves, the heat moves, the special ones are a little over edited in this game. It makes them hard to
Hmm.
enjoy because the camera comes in too tight, and there's a couple too many cuts where you're like, wait, what happened? Someone's face just got slammed into something, but wait, what? It's not as clear as it is in previous games,
Hmm.
so it's not as gratifying in some cases, and that's a disappointment. Also, the way it fades out of in the previous games, the last hit of a fight, it would go into slow motion, and the sound would drop out, and it would go into this. Uh, um, it would desaturate the color, and and then it would go back. In this one, it kind of gives it a blue tinted negative,
Hmm.
and it just kind of pauses. The person goes flying ass over tea kettle, and it goes that blue negative color, and it just kind of stops, and it hangs there for like a second too long, and maybe that's just loading, and if it is, oh well. But it's not timed in any way. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, click, click, click. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Other than that, though, I'm having a great time with the game. I mean, it's still a ton of fun. I mean, you might have seen this on Twitter the other day. I was talking about one of the quests. Kiryu's walking along minding his own business, and he sees this woman standing on the street with this guy kneeling in front of her, and she's wearing leather short shorts and a leather crop top and a spiked choker. And she's a dominatrix who works in a club, and she's trying to humiliate her client like you do as a dominatrix, but she's just terrible at it because she's way too polite. She's like, bowing and thank you for patroning our establishment, sir. And the guy stands up and he's like, no, 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 that's just, no, that's, you're supposed to humiliate me and call me a filthy pervert and stuff like that. And she says, but that would be like rude. So Kiryu's walking by and he offers to help her gain the confidence that it takes to be a successful dominatrix, because she has her heart set on this. Because she's always been a pushover in her real life, so she thought if I can become a dominatrix, I can assert myself and regain my own confidence in my personal life. So they say, okay, will you help me role play so I can learn how to be a dominatrix? And Kiryu's like, sure. And so they go to this little, and it's the middle of the night, so they go to this park area and they start role playing. And he's giving her tips on the kinds of things she should say. And suddenly this gaggle of kids walk up, like 8-10-year-old kids are like, what are you doing? And they're like, go away. And so they're trying to role play this whole dominant submissive relationship while these kids are standing there watching him going, adults are weird. What are you guys doing? What are you talking about? It's the funniest damn thing. It's so inappropriate, but it's hilarious. And then they go back and more shenanigans happen. And she finds her confidence, and all's well that ends well. So I continue walking around, and I find another building that I can enter, and it's a new one for this game. It's a video store, and I'm like, okay. And I walk in, and it's a video store in the sense of like it's a watch girly videos video store. So it's like a put in your change or dollars, like a peep show, only it's a videotape. I'm like, all right. So it says, would you like to watch a video? And I say, sure. And I pay my 800 yen, and I pick the one video that's available. Apparently you unlock more as the game progresses. And what I was thinking was it's going to be one of the game's polygonal characters dancing on a pole or something, and it's going to be silly, and it'd be like, okay. No, it's actually live action footage of an actor in a bikini just kind of rolling around on a bed and giving you weird, sexy, I guess, looks. And, with the light music and the camera going across her body and stuff like that, I'm like, okay. And I live alone, but even I'm like, make sure my windows are closed because I'm feeling a little creepy right now. And
that's going to count towards the completion rate. So
I have to watch every single video. But right at the point where it was starting to get, I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm going to hit the skip button because I've seen enough of this. This is getting a little uncomfortable. She suddenly has this large phallic pink balloon that is, kind of bulbous on one end and not as bulbous on the other end, and she's hugging this balloon. I'm like, oh my god, that's so amazing. And she's playing with this giant balloon phallus, and it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And this video is only like 30 or 40 seconds long, but that's some of the longest 30 or 40 seconds I've ever sat through. Even so, I was dying laughing. And when the video ends, the camera pans off of the it's like a 13-inch television. It pans over to a box of Kleenex, and you can hear Kiryu go, ah. like, oh my God. And then the trophy pops up, and the name of the trophy is I just did it for the trophy. Like, I love this game so much.
Oh, that's awful.
Oh,
So,
there's also slot car racing in this game. You remember those from the 80s?
hmm
Little cars that ran on electric tracks that you just pull the lever and they go flying off the track. So you can do slot car races in this game. Ton of stuff, ton of stuff. It's while I do think some of the heat actions, the camera work on the heat actions is a little uh, what's it? Jason Bourne. A little too choppy with the
yeah,
editing, a little too chaotic with the editing. Other than that, it's a Yakuza game. It's a ton of fun, and I recommend if you have a PS4, get Yakuza Zero because it's a lot of fun.
okay,
Giant balloon palaces.
yeah. I don't think it'd be my kind of game. I don't know.
Maybe not. Well, at least I think parts of it you would like. If you like, I don't know. Do you like brawlers like I don't know Final Fight or any of those
Sometimes,
beat 'em ups?
yeah.
Because yeah,
I
that's the
haven't
main
played too
mechanic
many
of
of
the game.
them, but
I think most of the
uh,
stuff that you'd be like, oh, okay, no. Um, well, it's also it can't when you're not putzing around with dominatrixes trying to regain their confidence. Uh, it's a straight face serious crime drama,
yeah,
Yakuza, with people chopping off their pinkies if they don't, if they lose face in front of their superiors in the mob and blah, 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 blah. And so, I mean, that's definitely rated R. So that's not something you want to see the kids. The language
yeah.
is naughty. It's in Japanese, but it's still very naughty. Um, but just playing around I have a friend, Glenn, who plays Grand Theft Auto with his son. Now, his son is probably
hmm
18 now, but back when his son was 11, he says, I do play Grand Theft Auto with my son, but I play with him, and my son just likes driving around and jumping off of ramps and stuff. I don't let him, pick up any of the sex workers or shoot people or anything like that. He just likes to race around and jump off ramps. So I control how he plays the game. Yakuza is very easy to do the same thing. You see the
hmm
dominatrix over there, and it's like, don't start her side story. Don't go in the sexy girls video store. Plenty other things to do. Go into
yeah.
the Sega arcade and play Space Harrier or Hang On or something like that, or
hmm
you know. Um, but yeah, it is definitely an M-rated game. So if you're in a house with a bunch of children, maybe not the best choice for you. But
Yeah.
I do so like that series. So what it? Oh goodness, goodness, goodness! You tell us what you've been
Well, let's see.
doing,
This
and
week,
I'll take care of the
um,
chat. Do.
well, this week, gaming wise, I haven't done much. Yeah, I just haven't had a lot of time for video games. I did start working on a game project and like making a game. I haven't gotten too far into it just yet, but it's a little more of a stepping stone towards of my other games that I'm wanting to make, and so hopefully I can get this done quickly. What it is it's a Gauntlet. It's just a spoof of that, or a game that fits that genre. Just four player uh, dungeon adventure game. So hopefully it won't take me too long. I think the longest part of that would be doing the procedural level generation. That's going to be the most complicated and time consuming code wise, and then the other part is just creating all the graphics and animations for the characters and the monsters, and I guess sound effects. But I've got a sound effects generator and I'm just doing this 8-bit style, so this sound effects generator be plenty for that. Otherwise, a couple of TV shows I started watching this week. Justice League Action.
Oh, that
Have you?
started. How is it?
Um, it's all right. It's actually not as bad as I was expecting it to be. When they first announced it, I thought it was going to be something more akin to Teen Titans Go,
Hmm.
but it's actually something. It's about halfway between Batman Brave and the Bold and the Justice League show, the actual Justice League cartoon, and Justice League Unlimited or Ultimate or whatever it was. It's about halfway between those two series, so it's actually really entertaining. It's not one big wide arcing story across the entire season or even multi-episode stories. It's just 13-minute or 12 13-minute episodes, just self-contained stories, and it's actually really fun to watch. I like it. um, you know I do miss the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, but what can we do? And the other show is Ruby. Season 4 has been out for a while, but I just now started watching season 4. And this is RWBY. It's made by Rooster Teeth, and I've talked about it before, probably a year ago, maybe a little bit more. But it's Ruby is it's a show about kids who go to battle school, basically. They're just super athletic and have crazy weapons. The main character, Ruby, uh, her name is actually Ruby, Ruby, and the team she's on is Ruby, RWBY, which is the first letter of the 4 team members' names.
Which is actually how the show's name is spelled, right?
Yeah, that's how the show's name is spelled. And the school does this. They group all the kids into a team of 4, and that's the team that they have to work with throughout their time at school. And I guess when they put these teams together, once they put them together, they try to arrange their acronym into where it actually makes a readable word. But yeah, season 4 or season 3 ended on a huge battle. It was really cool, and a lot of characters had some story arcs reach their end. Some other ones started a new story arc, and so season 4 kind of picks it up. The main team is broken apart into four different stories that it's telling. And I'm only about halfway through this season, and I'm really enjoying it. I like it. The animation has grown on me, and it's actually improved over the 4 seasons. So the first season, the animation is really choppy. The models are really flat and unappealing. But as the show went on, they've actually improved the animation greatly, and I like it.
It's
So
always interesting watching, especially computer animated shows, improve season to season, especially if you watch stuff in like the latter half of the '90s, like
yeah,
Beast Wars, the
yeah,
Transformers show. I think that was '96 or something like that. The
something
first,
like that. Yeah,
it, the difference between the first, second, and third seasons are really, really impressive. How much they um, just a moment.
yeah,
Uh, how much they change from season to season, and then they switched shows to Beast Machines, which changed its
yeah,
style too. And
yeah,
I wish
yeah.
Reboot would have gone on longer because that was one of the first ones, and it never really had a chance to grow, which is a
Yeah,
shame because there's a lot of good stuff in that show.
yeah. Other shows that like Star Wars: The Clone Wars is another show that if you look at the first the TV movie that started it, and then like the last season, you can see a huge improvement in the way they animated that. And also in the character acting too, huge improvement. So, yeah, shows like this they improve. I think with Ruby, it's more impressive because yeah, this is They're not like a professional shop like
Yeah.
Disney or Warner Brothers or something. This is a cell phone business, and they hire, it's essentially an indie studio in the way they run things and the way they function. So,
I'm always interested in seeing shows like Screw Attack's Death Battle,
uh-huh.
or it's what
Yeah,
it's called,
death
right? Death
battles.
Battle.
Yeah.
Because it looks like they contract each show out to a different person every 2 weeks, month, however often
Um,
they do those shows. I'm
yeah,
sure they
I
have a
don't.
rotating stable of people, but it's pretty clear that there's a different person working on several.
Yeah, because sometimes they do well, and but they also, I think one of the things too is that they contract specifically based on what style they're going for. So
Yeah,
they did.
it's one of the things I read. My
Yeah,
point was, it's one of the things I like just to see what style they're going with
yeah,
for each episode.
yeah. But yeah, so there's some good stuff out there. Lots of entertaining indie stuff, and I like finding new shows to watch,
Yeah.
and it's sad when some shows don't last as long. What was it? Um, um, Now I forget the channel it was, but this channel they did a ghost hunter style show, just a sitcom based around the concept of this is a team of ghost hunters, and they go and investigate spooky stories, and uh, and that one was a really entertaining show, and unfortunately only had 6 episodes. Um, but it was a professionally done show. It's on the same channel. It was done on the same channel where Felicia Day does her co-optitude and a few other shows. A few other shows. Tabletop is another show that's on that channel. So with Will Wheaton. So it's that they have the big geek stars on there, but definitely some good stuff there too. Let me see if I can pull the channel up here because I hate leaving people hanging. It's like here's something you should watch, but I have no clue who what channel it's on. Um, let's see here.
Well, while you're looking, I want to point out one thing. You see this really stupid light on the back of the PS4 controller? There's no way to actually turn this off.
Yep, I was going to tell you that when you posted that picture on there.
You, you,
Geek and
you,
Sundry is the channel.
ah,
Felicia Day is and Will Wheaton are kind of the big name stars there. Um, but yeah, I wanted to tell you on Facebook or YouTube. It's like you can't shut that thing off. I'm
you
sorry.
can dim it. It's normal, medium, and dim, and this is dim. Um, I mean, the PS4 has been out for 3.5 years. I'm amazed that wasn't added.
Yeah,
Like, give me the ability. It's useless. It's stupid. The way I game, I don't have a camera. There is use for that light. If you have multiple controllers, I think the color tells you which controller is which. That's
yeah,
cool. Um, it's used for tracking with the PlayStation Eye. I don't have a PlayStation Eye. I don't play
yeah. See,
multiplayer games, so
yeah,
I should be able to just turn it off. Because when I'm sitting here in the dark playing and it does weird flashy things, it's like people using a phone in the theater. It's annoying. Just let
yeah,
me turn it off. So I I don't know. It's might be dim enough because at least it's not blinding now. Uh,
yeah. You could always put a piece of tape
but
across
basically,
it.
what I was saying is just use
Yeah,
electrical tape and just
yeah, exactly.
cover it. So, I mean, I'm not gonna pop the thing out and remove the bulb or anything. I don't need that, but
No, no, you don't need to do that. Just some electrical tape will take care of it.
yeah.
There's um, just one of those handyman tips of how to fix that the blinking 12 o'clock on your VCR. put a piece of electrical tape across it.
Yeah, I've actually done that for something. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of electronics do have the standby light. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
care. Stop it. It's just an annoying light. It's why the television in my bedroom, which is my old tube TV, which I'm keeping because all the older consoles look a lot better on that TV. Um,
Yeah.
Try playing NES games or Atari games on a plasma set. Oh. you, you really want to keep a tube television if you have one. But it has an
Yeah.
indicator light, and I leave the TV unplugged. I just plug it in when I need to use it because otherwise I plugged in. There's this pinpoint red light in my bedroom, and I like it pitch black.
Hmm.
So anyway,
Yeah.
all right. So first topic is a story you wrote this week, one that I was thinking about writing, and then I realized I'd have to actually write it. But then I went to Random Tower, and you'd already written it. So
Sweet.
one of the things that Trump has been floating is tariffs, and
Mhm.
so explain to us what tariffs are and why gamers might care.
Well, tariffs are something, it's basically a tax that's applied to goods that are imported into a country. Think of like your VAT tax in many European nations, where they apply a tax to most stages of production and distribution. And then in VAT countries, that tax basically becomes part of the cost of those goods until they reach the consumer. With tariffs, it's not. It's applied just to the shipping of goods from the home nation to the destination, and Trump's plan is to apply tariffs on goods coming into the country as a way to punish uh, to punish businesses that refuse to manufacture in the U.S.
Mhm.
And so that's been his campaign promise for a while, and now he's talking specifically about applying a 20% tariff on goods manufactured in Mexico coming into the U.S. in order to pay for this border wall he wants to build. Um, but basically with tariffs, that that tax is going to essentially get added to the cost that we end consumers are going to pay. We're going to see probably not a 20% increase because the tariff is applied to the wholesale cost, and so there's always a retail markup and other markups along the way, from shipping across national borders to actually getting on the shelf, the store shelf. We're not going to see a 20% increase, but we are going to see a increase eventually because everybody along the way is going to say, hey, that's eating into my profits. I'm going to have to increase my cost, and eventually it's going to come to us as a higher price, and that's going to be bad for us, our pocketbooks.
So you're
Yeah.
saying companies are not going to eat the cost, they're going to pass it along to the consumer?
Exactly, and that's the
Huh.
way it always functions. In my article, I use the example of Philadelphia. Philadelphia implemented a beverage tax. It's not a soda tax. It's a basically anything that's not water or milk. I think milk is excluded, but I'm not sure. But I know water is excluded. So anything that's not water, we'll just say water for now. Gets a tax applied to it at the wholesale price, and that tax is essentially the cost of the good, sometimes more depending on how it's applied, and because the tax is applied on the distributor, they have to make up that cost somehow. Apparently, the mayor and city council of Philadelphia thought that these wholesale distributors were just going to eat the cost of the tax and nothing was going to happen in the long for the end consumer, but that's not the way it worked out, and so people are paying double what they used to be paying for a lot of drinks.
Hmm.
um, And so, yeah, there's no way a tariff on anything coming from Mexico or any other nation is not going to have a markup on the price that we pay.
Now, wasn't this tariff supposed to be not just goods coming in from Mexico, but you know, goods imported, period? So goods coming really from anywhere?
Yeah, that was his campaign promise. Right now, he's just talking about Mexico,
Hmm.
but his campaign promise has been um, basically if you're an American company and you're manufacturing somewhere else, we're going to apply a tariff on those goods that you're bringing back into the U.S. So if you don't want to pay that tariff, you got to bring it back to the U.S. and bring your manufacturing back to the U.S. and pay for it here. So companies like Apple and Microsoft, who get their electronics manufactured in China and Taiwan or wherever else, or even companies like Levi Jeans, they have their jeans made in Taiwan or other South Asian countries,
Hmm.
and these goods are going to have a tariff applied to them because the manufacturing isn't here in the U.S. So
So Nintendo fans could potentially be looking at a Nintendo Switch on March 3rd that costs more than $299 plus whatever their local sales tax is.
probably. I don't know when it doesn't. I don't know when it's going to happen,
Mhm.
but it's going to happen eventually. And Nintendo said specifically that they had to apply. They had to price the Switch at $300 in order to actually make a profit. Apparently, at 250, they wouldn't be making much profit at all if they
Mhm.
were making any. But like if a 20% tariff gets applied to a Switch console, and let's say it's applied at wholesale. Wholesale is probably around 250 for the retailer. That's going to be $50 added to the price. So now the price that the retailer pays is um, is $300. And so the retailer's like, well, now I'm not making a profit, so I'm going to have to raise my price and so that I can make some profit. And so
Mhm.
it could be 325 or 350 on the retail side. So
So, so basically, we could see an increase in the prices of all our consoles because, as far as I'm aware, PlayStation, Microsoft, and Nintendo all manufacture all their consoles. None of them are manufactured here. I mean, Microsoft is an American company, but they don't manufacture their stuff here.
yeah, no electronic companies, as far as I'm aware, at least no big ones, do any manufacturing in the U.S.
Mhm.
Your computers, your phones, your tablets, your consoles, your TVs, your DVD players or Blu-ray players, they're all manufactured out of the U.S. The closest manufacturing of any of this stuff is in Mexico,
Mhm.
but most of it's done in Asia. Uh,
So, so we could, so such a thing would make a humongous chunk of the stuff we enjoy more expensive. Our video game
mhm.
consoles, our phones, our basically all of our electronics. And while I think a fair amount of video games, especially games made by companies here in America, are probably printed here because printing a DVD or a Blu-ray is not that big a deal.
Yeah,
Um,
but there is going to be a tariff most likely applied to the physical media itself because
mhm.
that's not manufactured here. They're just the images or the game is burned to
Oh,
the physical media.
the
Yeah,
actual disc itself is
yeah,
manufactured overseas, brought over in big buckets, and just
yeah, and then the
burned
game
the
is
game
burned
burned on
on
it.
there,
That's right.
and yeah, and even I think even the DVD case itself is probably manufactured out of the country, and they
Yeah,
just buy those in bulk. So.
yeah. All right, so let's devil's advocate this thing and look at so these tariffs ostensibly are to encourage. Let's just look at Nintendo because Nintendo fanboy. So what this is supposed to do is encourage Nintendo to perhaps, or at least encourage someone in America to open up a large electronics manufacturing plant, build it, staff it, and make the stuff here.
Hmm.
So how would that work? Would it
Well,
work?
it probably wouldn't, especially if you want to retain the price of goods that you're expected to pay.
So what you're
Uh,
saying is the expense of setting up, of number one, designing and building such a factory,
mhm.
staffing it with trained employees, and finding American workers who are willing to work for
Or who are,
a schedule
yeah.
and a price low enough to not jack up the prices of these goods is not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. And even if we exclude,
Hmm.
just completely ignore the cost of building up the infrastructure needed to manufacture here, just the cost of manufacturing itself is going to price American-made electronics out of the market. Because here in the U.S. we have stronger labor unions, which demand higher wages and other benefits for their representative employees, and then we have business regulations that you have to keep track of. You have to actually hire people in order to keep track of these regulations, make sure that you're compliant and et cetera. And then you have the U.S. tax burden. The U.S. has one of the highest corporate tax rates in the world, which is another reason why so many businesses are starting up, starting up, or they move their operations out of the U.S. to begin with, and so we've got all these costs, and so shipping itself, which is where the tariff is applied, is a very small part of the cost of the good that's coming over here. Everything else is the manufacturing side, and so even if you were to manufacture here, you're still looking at a product that is more expensive than one that's shipped or built somewhere else and shipped into the U.S. With or without the tariff applied. So,
Okay, so let's follow this a little bit further. If we are right, it sounds like either way, um, whether we build electronics manufacturing factories here and produce our own goods, or we import them all, continue to import them with a tariff. Either way, the cost of a lot of consumer goods are going up. All right.
yeah, yeah,
I would guess that the reaction to that would be Americans buy less stuff.
pretty much. Just look at the gasoline price hike of earlier this century, where gasoline prices just went from dollar 50 across most of the country to $3, average price, and people bought less gas. They bought more fuel efficient cars and and other things. And other ways of reducing their gas consumption because they just couldn't afford it. And if video games, if a console suddenly jumped price 25%, and the games themselves jumped price 25%, you'd see a lot more people just saying, I think I'll just stick with the cheaper stuff that's already um, sorry, I just have to laugh at this guy. But
For anyone watching, there's someone in the chat giving me an ultimatum to either delete the kittens video, which one? I don't know because there's three of them, or be hacked and my internet shut down.
man, it's a serious threat. It's from
Uh,
anonymous. You
yeah.
gotta take that seriously.
Mhm.
Oh, and you gotta do it in 48 hours.
No, hour, horror, hour.
Yeah, horrors.
Thank you for correcting your spelling. I mean, if you're going to
That
threaten me,
that's more than
at
I
least
expected
spell it
from
right.
you.
No, I actually did not expect that from you, but I've seen you correct your spelling a few times, so at the very least, you've got that going for you. So well done. By the way, which of the kitten video? I'm assuming you're referring to my why I don't do reaction videos. The one that
Oh, he says
shows me
all of the kittens video.
all of them. Oh, so all three? Okay. Where were we? Oh, so people buy less stuff.
Hmm.
Now my degree is in engineering, not economics, but my basic understanding of that is when people buy less stuff, that's not great for the economy because the government makes less money on sales tax and doesn't have as much money to do fun things.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So well, yeah. So if people have less, if less money is going into the economy, then there's less money coming out. Or I guess it doesn't really go into the economy because it's all one collected whole, collective whole. But if people aren't spending money, people aren't making money to spend, and so they're hiring less people or fewer people, not less, fewer, and and so yeah, the economy becomes to stagnate. We're looking at, we could look at another recession if that's the case,
Mm.
and we don't want that.
No,
Um,
no.
yeah, and then
Recession
earlier in
bad.
yeah, and then earlier in the chat, something else that that I've been talking about on other things is that we got Peter says, I doubt Mexico could afford to just stop trade, because they're talking about Mexico just saying no, we're not going to deal with you guys, and that's probably not likely, because Mexico, the U.S. is one of Mexico's largest trade partners. So for their exported goods, the U.S. buys a sizable portion of it, and they couldn't afford to just stop doing business with us. But as Mekatama says, this could start a trade war
Yeah.
where Mexico says, okay, you're going to apply a 20% tariff on all goods we ship to you. Well, we're going to apply a 30% tariff on all goods you ship to us. How much? How many? How you know? What the amount of products we ship to Mexico is, I don't know, but that's something they have the power to do. And
Cost wise, I believe we have a deficit in that exchange, so we
yeah,
ship
yeah,
out
we
more
definitely
than
do.
we take in from
Yeah,
Mexico.
that's true. Yeah, I could see that. But China, we couldn't afford to go into a trade war with China, because we have a severe deficit with China. We
Yeah.
have more goods coming from China than China gets from us. China could say, well, screw you, we're just not going to buy anything from you from now on, and it wouldn't hurt them at all. But they could also say, well, if you're going to apply a tariff, we're just not going to ship to you, period, and we would be screwed.
Uh, if another thing China could do would be like, oh yeah, all right, none of your movies are releasing here now. Boom.
Yeah, that would hurt American movie studios, because China is actually the fastest growing market for American made movies,
Yeah.
and a lot of movies these days, a lot of movie studios, if they don't release in China, they know they're not going to make a profit, and,
Mhm.
uh, and which would not be good for them.
Which means less movies and less risks taken because they can't rely on the Chinese market anymore.
Yeah.
I, maybe we're not looking at it in the right way, but these all seem like bad things.
Yes, they do.
So let's
And
switch topics to something that maybe isn't a bad thing. So Trump appointed where is it? What's his name? Let's see. Oh, get that ad out of my way. Stop it. Stop. Bad. I'm never going to pronounce this correctly, but the new chairman of the FCC is Ajit Pai, Pai. I do apologize. I have
something like
no
that.
idea how the
Yeah.
hell that guy's name is pronounced. But he has been quoted as saying, we need to fire up the weed whacker and remove those rules that are holding back investment, innovation, and job creation, said he, referring to a little thing we call net neutrality. So, Zachary, what is net neutrality and why do gamers care?
Well, net neutrality is a very hot button issue. There's much of the internet going world is for it, but there's a still a sizable portion of the population, as well as major businesses that are against it. But the concept of net neutrality is that all traffic on the internet should be treated equal, and that internet service providers should not be in the business of deciding which or what traffic gets priority over other traffic. So the idea is that your internet service provider cannot decide for you that Netflix shouldn't be a priority for you. If you want Netflix a priority, if you want to watch Netflix, it shouldn't interfere with anything else you want to do. It shouldn't be interfered with. But internet service providers, they basically see dollar signs in their eyes, and they're like, you know what? If we decide that Netflix is doing too well of business, we can decide that, okay, Netflix, we're going to slow down your traffic into our network unless you pay us money. And Netflix has not been for that, and it's not something that end consumers would like. And the other thing is that, and this is something that's actually happening, is prioritized traffic, where the internet service provider picks a certain group of products or internet services and says, all right, we're not going to slow you down, and you're not going to apply to data caps or whatever, but anything else that's not in this small bubble of products and services, that's going to get slowed down or apply to your data caps and stuff. And so we don't, net neutrality says that that's not right. That's something that we shouldn't be for, because it locks in existing services at the expense of new and upcoming services. Because if you're not one of those small group of products and services, you're at a severe disadvantage when it comes to reaching your potential customer and growing your market. And that's something that the FCC under Obama finally realized, and they started taking steps in that direction. And they haven't been perfect on net neutrality, but they were actually doing something positive in that direction and getting that way. And this new guy, he doesn't like this. So,
isn't there something in net neutrality about not discriminating against traffic based on content, based on so long as it's legal?
I think that's been one of the exceptions, was that if some traffic source is a known, like, child porn distribution hub or whatever, then it is legal to block that, because that is illegal content.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you could say that online gambling would fall under that, because a lot of states have made online gambling illegal. But again, that's just, that's one of those tough areas. It's like, well, how do you know what is this bad traffic? It has to be, reported at some point and in some way. But yeah, that's been one of the exceptions that people have compromised on. Net neutrality supporters have compromised on, but there is a sizable portion of net neutrality supporters that says, internet service providers should just be dumb pipes and shouldn't care about traffic, what the actual content is.
Right. So is there any is getting rid of net neutrality serve the consumer in any way?
Probably not. The reason Republicans in general are against net neutrality is because they they incorrectly believe that internet service providers function in a free market, where they think, oh, well, businesses should be able to compete with each other and create their own rules for how they run their business and etc. And customers should be free to go to the businesses that they want to deal business with. But the fact of the matter is that the majority of people in the U.S. have 2 or fewer choices for broadband internet. So, like myself, I've got a choice between Cox and AT&T or AT&T Uverse here where I live. But the house that I'm moving to doesn't have Cox. It has AT&T DSL, and so and I guess I could go with a telephone network hotspot, something from Verizon or Sprint to do a little hotspot gizmo for my house. But a lot of these services they're managed to death, and so if both AT&T and Cox decided that they were going to deprioritize Netflix, there would be nothing I could do about it. I wouldn't be able to watch Netflix at a decent resolution and frame rate because it doesn't matter which of these 2 companies I went to. I wouldn't be getting a good deal on Netflix. So they talk about a free market and reducing regulations, but it's typically Republican legislators around the U.S. that block other service providers from setting up shop in areas where big name companies like Cox, Comcast, AT&T, Time Warner, etc. Have already set up shop. Yeah.
Just on a side note, we're discussing Alien in the chat, or the Alien franchise, and Mekatama says he actually saw the director's cut of Alien 3, the David Fincher one, first, and so never understood why there was so much hate for it, and then saw the theatrical version and was like, oh, I get it now. So,
yeah. Alien 3 wasn't that.
John Hurt, who was Kane in the original Alien, the guy gets chest bursted. He passed away a couple days ago, so that's why that's up.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. That guy got around in sci-fi, but yeah.
So from a consumer perspective, because we're consumers and players of video games and people who like having internet so that we can play with all our digital entertainments. Having net neutrality is a good thing, and not having it does not serve us in any way at all.
Yeah, exactly. And specifically with games, with video games, pretty much everything is done online these days. And so if your internet service provider decides, okay, well, we've worked out a deal with Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, and Valve, and we're not going to manage their traffic. So you'll be able to play online and download games from them without any interruption in your service. But the thing is they left off the Humble Bundle, they left off GOG, and all these other smaller itch.io, Game Jolt, all these other ones, they're kind of screwed in that effect. They're it's like, how are these smaller companies supposed to build up an audience if it takes 3 hours to download a 500 megabyte game from Good Old Games, whereas it only takes 10 minutes to download it from Steam? That's a severe disadvantage for Good Old Games, and nobody's going to want to do that.
Which brings back the not prioritizing one type of traffic over another.
Mm-hmm.
So they could say, hey, Netflix runs like crap on your service. It does, but we have our own video streaming service that you
use. Exactly.
I mean, it doesn't have the Marvel shows that you want to watch like Netflix does, but
yeah.
So, giving Scooby, okay, I'm sorry, that's mean. Giving Mr. Pie the benefit of the doubt, or however his name is pronounced, giving him the benefit of the doubt. Do you see any way that the net neutrality rules are currently holding back investment, innovation, or job creation?
No. What's holding back innovation and job creation, et cetera, is the fact that we have a regulatory structure that benefits existing service providers like Comcast, AT&T, Time Warner Cable, etc., and all them, at the expense of upcoming service providers. Like a lot of states around the country have banned municipal broadband. So where the city basically
Yeah.
develops the broadband infrastructure itself, and then either manages it themselves or contracts it out. They've banned those, and they've made it difficult for services like Google Fiber to come in. That's one of the reasons why Google Fiber hasn't taken off as well as it should have, is because the regulatory structure in a lot of these areas that they wanted to bring in was just too much for them to get it done in any reasonable amount of time. And so yeah, but if companies, if broadband companies are allowed to manage traffic to death, then yeah, it's going to hurt innovation and job creation, because new startups are not going to be able to compete with those existing companies that have prioritized traffic.
Hmm. Well, okay. Well, let's move to another topic and see if we can find something a little bit more interesting, a little more uplifting.
Okay.
You found something about a Brad Bushman study that longtime readers of Game Politics might be interested in.
Yeah, everybody, if you guys have followed game politics for any length of time, the name Brad Bushman has probably crossed your eyeballs as you were reading. Brad Bushman is I think a professor of some sort. Um, I haven't actually. It's been a long time since I've read about him, so I don't know exactly what his job is. But in his professional career, he has been one of the two or three people who have basically a vendetta against video games and have been trying to get video game or trying to link video games with real world violence, and it has been pretty unsuccessful so far. Um, and his studies were part of the evidence that states like California presented to support their laws restricting the content of, or restricting the sales of video games. And so back in 2012, Brad Bushman published a study, and this is a wonderful title. The title is Boom, Headshot? Effect of video gameplay and controller type on firing, aim, and accuracy. And let's see. Let me try to see if I can figure out exactly what this study it was meant to do. But basically, it's one of his studies that just says that video gameplay makes people more efficient killers, or more likely to be violent to other people. And all that. And it was published in Communication Research back in 2012. And after 4 years, the journal has finally decided to retract that study. And retracting it means that that it's basically unpublished. It's no longer recognized by that publishing journal. They say, you know what, we're done with that. It's crap. We don't want it. And the reason why is because a group of other researchers have been trying to recreate the results of this study, and they have been unable to. And they have realized that Brad Bushman massaged a lot of the data in order to reach the conclusion that he wanted. It says that two outside researchers mentioned in the notice are Patrick Markey, psychology professor at Villanova University, and Elsen, a behavioral psychology postdoc at Ruhr University, Bochum in Germany, they began questioning the results when Markey noticed that some statistical inconsistencies that suggested the data was positively skewed. Bushman has claimed that the push to retract the paper was a smear campaign, but ultimately he agreed with the retraction. And which means that he could not defend his study in any way, and so he's like,
You're
and rather
being
than
really mean to me. I mean,
yeah,
you're completely right, but you're being mean. Um,
yeah. So yeah, but they realized that Bushman massaged the data, and it couldn't the results of the study could not be verified, and so yeah, they retracted it. Let's see let's see. But here's another comment about the retraction from Malte Elson. Says, I am pleased to see the papers finally retracted almost 3 years after the authors were first notified of the concerns and 2 years after it was first reported to the Ohio State University, which I believe is where Brad Bushman works. The public record has now been corrected, which is the only thing Patrick and I ever wanted after we found evidence of severe errors in the data on which the now retracted paper was based. And honestly, it's great that that this research paper was retracted. We don't want bad science in our public record, and it doesn't matter what the subject of the science is. If the study is bad, you shouldn't it shouldn't be published in something trustful like a science journal. So
yeah. Okay.
yeah, and not just because I hate Brad Bushman.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know him, but
I don't. Yeah,
if you've long read game politics, then you'll recognize the name Brad Bushman, because whenever we would report on some anti-game, anti-video game, anti-gamer study, it was either Brad Bushman or Craig Anderson.
yeah.
It's like
Pretty
these were
much, it's those
the
two, and I
only
think
two
there was
people.
there was one other guy, and I'm trying to remember his
Yeah.
name.
Hmm.
He made a lot of headway after the Columbine shooting, and what
Well,
was his
yeah,
name?
because there was a public hysteria. It's like, oh, how could this happen? Blame the video games.
Yeah, but
Unfortunately, people just need something to blame. People
yeah,
need a villain.
Peter
Sadly.
Ginsler in the comments here, he has something funny to say. He says, "If anything, video games have taught me all I need to know to avoid detection by authorities is to walk crouch down." Yeah,
Yep.
and I would add on there that also to avoid direct flashlight or direct contact with the beam of their flashlight.
Stay out of their
Um,
vision cones.
yeah, uh,
That's
yeah,
it. Or if you're Solid Snake, just lay prone on the ground and think, I am a rock. I am just a tumbleweed. You can't see me. I love
yeah,
Metal Gear Solid 5 because you'll be laying like broad daylight. You're laying on the ground 10 feet from a dude, and the dude's like, I guess that human shaped dude laying on the ground right there is just a rock. I can't believe it worked.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it's good stuff. Video games are great.
Video games are great. We are anonymous. Can you send an email now? Are you asking my permission to send an email? You may send an email. Sure. Have fun. Um, it may. I apologize in advance if it hits my spam folder and I don't see it. So moving on, Capcom, who does the Ace Attorney games, which I very much like. But unfortunately, they have not seen fit to bring the Great Ace Attorney spin-off series over to where I live. And that game's getting a sequel. And some site theorized that the reason that this game may not be coming over to the West is because Sherlock Holmes is a character in the game. Um, so, and I thought, okay, but Sherlock Holmes is a public domain character, so why would that stop them from releasing the game over here? And Zachary and I actually talked about this briefly over email earlier this week. And while it's true that the character of Sherlock Holmes is in the public domain, uh, the last 10 or so books of the Sherlock Holmes series are
I think it's
still
just
under
a collection
copyright.
of short stories and
Oh, is it the
novellas.
collection?
It's not.
Okay.
It's yeah. Sherlock Holmes is uh, one of those characters that appears in multiple full novels, but also short stories, collections of short stories and novellas as well. And it's just like I believe it's just this last collection of short stories and novellas
Okay.
that are covered in
So,
copyright here in the U.S.
any details in that collection that was introduced into that collection is subject to copyright, but the character of Sherlock Holmes, like the character of Dracula, is in the public domain and
Yeah.
free to use. You can write a book, you can make a video game, sing a song, do a play, whatever, public domain character. So, just in and of itself, unless the Great Ace Attorney is using specific elements introduced in the latter works that are still under copyright, it should be perfectly fine to release the Great Ace Attorney 2 or whatever the full name of the game is in America because public domain character. However, just because it's okay to do so doesn't mean that the Doyle estate won't still try to sue them.
Yeah.
They'll lose if they do, but Capcom may say, you know what? Not even worth the possibility that someone might get uppity and sue over the use of the character.
Yeah.
Which is a damn shame because I'm sure those games are a lot of fun. However, they could just, change his name from Sherlock Holmes to Larry. Larry
They could.
Larry
Yeah.
wearer of awesome hats.
Yeah, they could, and it's one of those things that have been done extensively throughout history. Is that here's a popular character. Well, I want to write a story about said character, but I can't use said character, so I'm going to go ahead and write the story, but change the character's name and the place they live to this, and be good. And that's like 50 Shades of Grey is a recent example of something. It started out as fan fiction of the Twilight series.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then when it became popular as fan fiction, the author just realized, you know what, I could probably get this published if I just changed all the names and the location. And that's what she did, and she got apparently there's a second movie coming out and and there's already multiple books.
A sec. The 50 Shades.
50 Shades. Yeah,
Darker.
It's like 50 Shades of Black, I think, or something like that.
50 Shades of Grey is the first one. 50
Yeah.
Shades Darker is the second one. Then 50 Shades Freed is the third one.
I don't know.
So you're saying that there's a fourth one coming?
I don't know. I just know that there's a movie coming out that I was not aware of because I didn't realize the first movie was that successful. But I'm trying to remember where, but I was watching something online. I think it was either on Hulu or even YouTube or whatever, because YouTube has now gotten the pre-video ad is no longer blocked by ad block. I don't know if it's just because they changed things up and ad block hasn't caught up with it yet, but I'm now seeing ads on YouTube videos and it's frustrating me. but yeah, I just watching something this week, I saw an ad for it and I'm like, why is this? And it's like, it didn't even start out like what I expected. And it's like I didn't even know what it was going to be, and then when they showed the title, I'm like, huh?
But Wilson in the chat says that he's on the team that's translating the Great Ace Attorney, so I'm excited to hear that because I'm a big fan of the Ace Attorney series, and I would really like to play them. And Capcom, I would totally be willing to give you money to play the games. Bring him out over here. Sherlock Holmes is a public domain character. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really sad. There's another case where Edgar Rice Burroughs, he was
Mhm.
another author where a
Tarzan,
lot of his
John
Tarzan and
Carter.
John Carter books were published before 1923,
Hmm.
and uh, and so those are all in the public domain. But there's like a handful of books from both of those series. And some other books of his that were published after 1923. And it's those after 1923 stories that are still covered by copyright because those are now life of the author plus 70 years. And I think the Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff is 19 or 2023. I think that's when they go into the public domain, and the Sir Arthur Doyle stuff is around that same time. Um, but there was a case where I'm trying to remember the comics publishing company that did this, but they did a comic of the first John Carter book, and they were sued by the Burroughs estate, not over copyright but over trademark. Where they have a trademark on the John Carter character and the Barsoom world and other things, and so they base their lawsuit on trademark infringement,
Mm.
and so that's another avenue that the Doyle estate could uh, approach a lawsuit with Capcom, is that not copyright infringement but trademark infringement on the Sherlock Holmes character. And
Bad faith, I say.
yeah, definitely bad faith. And I believe that the Burroughs estate has actually lost based on that argument. But still,
Yeah, yeah.
I could
But
still see the Doyle estate trying.
federal court ruled in like 2012 or 13 or something on pretty much this issue, and I forget what they were suing over specifically, but
Yeah,
federal court ruled, say, the character, with the exception of that last collection, in the is in the public domain and free to use. The
yeah,
only thing that's still under copyright is anything that was first introduced in the latter collection that's
yeah.
under copyright.
Which is also kind of
Oh,
funny
pardon
too,
me.
because there's actually other cases where prior to 1974. In 1974, they changed the law to life plus 50 years, I believe, and and so and but in order to gain that protection, the work had to have its copyright renewed prior to 1974. So that had to be the work had to either be within the first 28 years of copyright protection or have been renewed, and the second 28 years active in 1974. And
Sorry, I'm reading the chat.
um,
Very,
so,
Sean.
so
Thank you. That was
yeah, but and so there was actually some cases where one example recently is Andy Griffith, the Andy Griffith show. There's a handful of episodes like in the middle of the entire series that are no longer covered by copyright because their copyright wasn't renewed prior to 1974, and so it's just, yeah, there's like 12 episodes that are public domain, and there's currently some legal shenanigans going on over that because somebody was like, I'm going to release these, upload these to YouTube because they're public domain, and then they got sued by whoever owns Andy Griffith, and so that's in courts right now.
Mm. All right.
Okay, I'm going to have to play dumb here for a second,
Okay.
because I see this word a lot, and I've never taken the initiative to figure out what exactly it means and why it's an insult. But cuck makes absolutely no sense to me. C-U-C-K.
It's the noise a chicken makes. So they're basically calling you a
Okay.
chicken, calling you yellow, calling you a coward, cuck, cuck, cuck. Oh, wait, no, that's cluck. No, cuck, cuck is short for cuckold.
Okay.
How does it work in the context that it's typically used? It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's one of those failed pejoratives, like Thompson's classic pixelanti.
Yeah.
He tried so hard to make that a thing.
Oh
But
man.
at least pixelanti is kind of cool sounding. I mean, we actually had one of our users at Game Politics kind of adopted it and had the name
Masked Pixelanti.
Matt's
Yeah.
Pixelanti. We also had Pixelanti's Anonymous. Um,
Yeah. Well,
but Cuck is just
yeah. But another
can't
one is
take it.
Social Justice
You see it
Warrior.
so
It's
much,
like,
I just keep thinking chickens. I just keep cuck.
yeah.
I just giggle because it's so stupid.
Yeah,
But
but
whatever.
Social Justice Warrior is another one that Gamergate and related people tried to turn into a pejorative, but it just sounds so awesome that it can't be negative to anybody that it's directed
Oh,
at.
social justice warrior.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, was equal rights ninja just too awesome sounding? It's like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Warrior for social justice. I can only hope. I
yeah.
mean, it's I don't know. Jordan, I think you had a question somewhere. Oh, opinion on Ace Attorney and Marvel versus Capcom. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I like it when video games bring in non-traditional fighters like that, and it just makes for a fun thing. Like Duck Hunt Dog and Smash Brothers. It's just so random. It's the only time the only thing you ever see Duck Hunt Dog do is jump over the bushes, laugh at you, and hold up a duck.
Mhm.
And it's like, he has nothing else going for him, but they
I
turn
have,
him into an
yeah, I have
entire
no idea.
fighter.
I don't know how well Phoenix Wright plays in the game, if anyone wants to main him or not, or if he's just really a joke character. But like Duck Hunt Dog. I just love what I find so fascinating is how they made him into a fighting character, and they did such a great job incorporating all of the elements that he's known for. The objection and throwing evidence and stuff. It was just so clever and uh, 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 such fan service.
Hmm.
See, that to me is fan service, and that's the kind of stuff I really love about Smash Brothers. Even though I don't play games like that because they not fun for me, but I do love all the Nintendo and other fandoms like Capcom characters and
Yeah,
Marvel and
I like
stuff.
Marvel versus Capcom. The I've got Marvel versus Capcom 3, but the version I have, I don't think has Ace Attorney in it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Jordan also had scrolled up, but Jordan also asked what we think of Marvel versus Capcom Infinite. I'm excited to see more. I mean, I'll never play it because I don't play fighting games.
I'm excited to see Mega Man actually return.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's X, or wait, is it X or is it Mega Man? I forget now.
I forget. Yeah, I forget which one it is, but it's nice to see him back. They did Trombone in the last
Mhm.
one, and I think Zero in the one before.
Yeah. But I think we only know of like 6 characters so far.
Yeah.
And on the Nintendo fanboy stand front, we're probably the Switch is probably not going to get Marvel versus Capcom Infinite.
Probably not, but you have a PS4 now. If you ever felt inclined, it's definitely going to be there.
That's true. So let us move to our last topic, which is actually Nintendo. So one thing I noticed happened this week is the when Nintendo did its big Switch press event earlier this month, it only announced 5 games for launch day. Well, that has gradually been expanding. What's his face said after Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus is going to be launch day. Square
Mhm.
Enix, I think, has confirmed that I Am Setsuna is going to be launch
Yep.
day. And the Tomorrow Corporation has confirmed that its 3 games, World of Goo, Little Inferno, and Human Resource Machine, all of them will be on the Switch on launch day, March 3rd, which is cool. It's fine. But what I found kind of interesting is how many people I saw on various social medias going like, yeah, ha, we've got 3 more games on the Switch launch. Boom! And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's cool and everything, but these are 3 old games. Really old in some cases. World of Goo came out in 2008.
Yeah.
It's currently available on the Wii,
It's currently available on
PC,
every
Mac, and
single
Linux,
platform
and,
out
and
there.
mobile. They're all available on the Wii or the Wii U.
It was available
PC,
on,
Mac,
yeah.
Linux, and mobile. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, Little Inferno, I think, was 2012, and Human Resource Machine, which I've not played, is 2015. Uh, so again, it's nice to have, but in my ridiculously humble opinion, um, such games are great to supplement a system's library, but they can't be the entire library. They can't they can't hold it up. You know, you need the big games like, well, Marvel versus Capcom Infinite, and Resident Evil 7, Red Dead Redemption 2, and the sports titles. I mean, we know we're getting NBA 2K and FIFA, at least some version of those.
Yeah.
But we're not getting Mass Effect Andromeda. We're not getting, the list goes on and on. And it's looking grim. I mean, we're still like 5 weeks out from launch, but
Yeah.
but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I doubt we're
and
going to see too many more games announce launch day availability, but I assume we're going to see more games show up within the early launch window. So
yeah, and it's a
April and
lot
May
of
and
digital
June.
games. I Am Setsuna, for example, I believe is digital only. I don't think it's getting a physical release. That could
Yeah.
change, but the last time I looked, that was the case, is digital only, which is a shame because, well, one, there's not a whole hell of a lot of room on the Switch, and two, I prefer physical media. Um,
Um, Something else, and I don't know um, where it went now, but I saw some images online of the Switch game cases.
oh
Somebody
yeah,
actually saw those on the. I guess
they're thinner. They look kind of like Vita cases.
yeah, and they actually pulled them up, and they're slightly shorter and maybe a little bit wider than a Vita case. But they're
Which makes the German ratings logo absolutely huge. I
yeah,
saw a
yeah,
German case. It's like they had to actually move the Legend of Zelda logo over to over
yeah,
to
they
the
had to
right side
shrink
of the
it down
case.
and move it over so that the German ratings logo wasn't covering it up. But yeah, they're but the game cases are small, and which is to be expected because the flash carts are not much different in size than the Vita carts and your DS and 3DS carts. Um, and so yeah, the cases are small, but they're not going to be as small as the 3DS cards. They are or boxes because they Nintendo still wants to differentiate between the two. You know, the smaller cases for the dedicated handheld and the big cases the video or the home console one. But yeah, Mekatama says, you know what would make me want to buy a Switch day one? Starts with M, rhymes with Petroid. Metroid for
So
those that can't make the connection.
Metroid Federation Force 2 is what you want there, Mechatam? um,
Oh man, I think people would actually uh, take their pitchforks and torches to Nintendo's headquarters
yeah.
if that announcement came out at E3 this year.
So, a couple other Nintendo things I noticed this week is the European Nintendo site actually they had a spec page for the Wii U, the Wii U, I'm sorry, the Switch. Now, what we had heard before for the Switch's online lobby and voice chat was our new dedicated smart device app will connect to Nintendo Switch and let you invite friends to play online, set play appointments, and chat with friends during online matches and compatible games, all from your smart device. And we all started talking about that, and we're like, well, wait a minute. So I have to do all my matchmaking and lobbying and chatting on my phone? That that doesn't that sounds cumbersome to me. I mean, maybe this will, as I said last week or the week before, maybe that will set the standard for how this stuff goes from then on out. But I mean, if I'm holding this thing or setting it down and doing the little controllers, I'm like, now I got to dig a thing out of my pocket, and I don't know. It seems weird. But if you look at the European site, there it says it has a little red line pointing to where the audio jack on the Switch is, and it says for connecting commercially available headphones, microphones, or headsets. What would you be using that for if not for voice chat? I mean, unless they're releasing a virtual console version of Hey You Pikachu, I don't know what else you'd be using that for. So maybe you'll be able to do both. I don't
Yeah.
know. Someone said that
Is it your typical round audio jack, or is it something you could just plug into the USB port? Because I know very few headsets other than for mobile phones that plug into your typical 5 millimeter headphone jack. Everything
yeah,
else uses the
looks like
everybody
a
else
three
uses the YouTube
looks like
or
a 355.
USB
Looks like a
or
355.
355. Yeah,
Yeah.
not 5 millimeter, 355. Yeah,
Yeah, one of these.
yeah.
So
5 millimeters are the big honking
yeah,
ones.
yeah. I actually
Yeah.
have one of those.
And that's for
Not on me.
the big
The
professional
big
audio
cans,
equipment.
which I
Yeah.
have, and I love those. But someone suggested, they said, well, maybe the Switch is supposed to be portable, and no one wants to drag a headset along, and but everyone always has their phone. I'm like, uh, you know, This is the headset that comes with the PS4. This is it. I mean,
It's got the little earpiece, and then it's got the little dangling mic, and
I don't think this is too much to, because I see people with their damn little earbuds all the time. I don't think asking people to cart this around in their pocket with their, if they're carting the Switch around, they probably have a case for it. They could probably stuff this in there.
yeah.
But maybe you'll be able to use a headset, or you'll be able to use the smartphone app. We don't know yet, so we shall see. I think there was one more Switch thing that I wanted to talk about, and I didn't remember what it was. No, I think that's it. Yeah. So let me
Okay.
check my email. Ooh, I've got one thing in my spam, and it says 5 grams mail, boners from the jungle. That's probably not from our anonymous friend.
Probably not, but you never know.
Hmm.
That could be the email he was talking about.
Maybe, and if it is, sorry, I junked it. Um,
Yeah.
so that was the week that was. So we've our chat is going all over the place.
Yeah, they're talking about Mass Effect and Metroid Prime.
Wilson went to the Switch event and is going to upload footage. So yeah,
Sweet.
hey,
Hey, look forward to
email
that.
us a link or DM me on Twitter or something like that. Sure, I'll take a look at it. I'm glad you had a good time. There's a Switch event. The nearest one to me is LA, but it's the last time I looked, it was like February 25th or something. It's the end of next month. I'm like, it comes out on the 3rd. I'm not going to drive to LA just to play the console when it comes out the week after. So
Let's see. Yeah, there's nothing closer. The closest thing to me is Chicago, and I don't really feel like flying in a plane for 4 hours in order to go to it. And then I guess they got Nintendo Switch at different PAX events.
Yeah, Jordan,
PAX
previous comment reminded me of the other thing I wanted to talk about. He says, love the Switch is just a smaller, more portable Wii U. I don't. That's what I don't like about it. I'd like it to be a more powerful stationary console. I would totally trade in the portability. Now, this is me personally because I don't value portability at all. Personally, I would trade the portability for a better performing console. But that's me. no one sees this. All you need is a portable wall plug and a backpack to put the Wii U in, then you just play your games on the pad. Yeah, I've seen pictures. I've not seen it in person, but I've seen pictures of people on planes playing with the Wii U because they have an outlet nearby, which is fun.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing I wanted to talk about is I don't know if this is true or not because I didn't look into it much, but I saw a picture of what is ostensibly the Switch's AC adapter, and they've gone back to apparently they've gone back to the big brick that plugs into the wall rather than putting the brick in the middle of the cord like what they
Yeah.
did with the GameCube and the Wii and the Wii U.
Uh-huh.
With the N64, the brick was actually plugged into the back of the N64, which was kind of neat. But after that, they started putting the power brick in the center of the cord, so you just had a small plug. Because back in the
Yeah.
NES and Super NES days, you had the big brick with the two prongs on it, and you had to
Yeah.
put it on the bottom, or you had to turn it upside down and put it on the top, or if you had to plug it into
A power
a power
strip.
strip, it
You
you
had
had to
to
put it
plug it
on the
on the
very bottom
end.
one, and then it partially covered up another. And if they were facing the other way, then you couldn't plug it in, plug anything next to them.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a pain in the butt. So I hope that's not true, because that sucks. I
Well,
That's a
I
really
think
odd
what
choice
it's
to me,
probably
if
going to
that's
be
true.
though, because it charges USB-C, it's probably just going to be one of these. This is my phone charger, and it's just a little brick, and it has a USB port on it, and that's all it is. If the Switch itself charges via USB-C, that's all they need is just one of these. And if it's anything bigger than that, then yeah, they're just making
Well,
poor design
I've
choices.
seen box art, and it looks like the big brick with the two prongs in it, and it doesn't look like it's the prongs that flip up or fold down or go to the side, so you have more options.
Mhm.
It really looks like an NES or a Super NES power brick,
Then
which
I
is an
think they're
odd
just
choice to me,
making poor
if
poor
that's
design
true.
choices. But I
Yeah.
guess well, and I say that that's all they need, but if I would assume that the Switch is probably going to draw more power than your phone would. When playing on your phone, even you can plug in your phone and play on it while it's charging, and it's still charged. But I could see that the Switch would probably draw more power, and so they would use a bigger power supply in order to push more power through the USB port into the Switch. So yeah, I guess I could see them using something different. But yeah, bulky power supplies suck, and so yeah, you're probably going to end up putting it on the end of your power strip, or I guess a market for 6-inch extension cables will pop up around the Switch, so you can plug the brick into this 6-inch power cable and then plug that into
Or it's like the
your
cable,
power strip.
the actual power cord leading off the brick to the Switch is only 2.5 feet long. It's like, oh, come on, Nintendo. It's like, what? The dock isn't going anywhere. The dock stays. It's a Switch. And it's like, yeah, but I want to put it on my entertainment console, not on the floor behind it.
Yeah,
Now,
it's
again, I don't know how long the cord is. I'm just
yeah.
joking.
Hopefully, the HDMI cable is a 6 foot and not a 3 foot,
Yeah.
because 3 foot HDMI cables are worthless. It's like everybody. It's like every time I see one of those, I'm like, really, who puts their system that close to the TV that this actually works? 6 foot or is the minimum length a US or an HDMI cable should be. Um,
Yeah. So, lastly, I suppose, of course, big Nintendo fan, so I'm constantly thinking about, man, is the Switch going to be another Wii U? Um, Now, a lot of people say, well, what did you want the Switch to be? Just another PS4? Well, yeah, actually. So I would prefer to just buy one console instead of two. Wouldn't that be nice? But I think if Nintendo released a console, a stationary console that was in the same ballpark as the PS4 and Xbox One, I it probably still wouldn't have mattered. I think Nintendo had to do some type. If you're releasing completely mid-generation, 3.5 years after your competition comes out, remember PS4 and Xbox One both came out at the very end of 2013, and the Switch comes out in the third month of 2017. Even if they did come out with a comparably powerful console, that's over 3 years later. That's too late. You do need something to differentiate yourself. So I think if you're releasing mid-generation like that, you definitely do need a differentiating
Yeah,
factor. And
definitely.
portable console may be it. Just because it in no way appeals to me doesn't mean that it won't be have mass market appeal. So I'm very interested to see what happens. I mean, this could be something that takes off like hotcakes. And I'm getting the sense that a lot of the third parties aren't as interested in bringing their so-called AAA games, the Resident Evil 7, Mass Effect, Andromeda, stuff like that, Red Dead Redemption 2. Not so much that they're not bringing it to the Switch because it will never run on the Switch, although as is they probably won't. They'd probably have to be pared down a bit.
Yeah.
Um, but it seems to be less technologically impossible without a crap ton of work, and more, we're just not so sure it's going to do that well. And I don't know if it will either. I think it's really going to come down to how valuable people find a portable console. I mean, especially since most of the first year of games are old games,
Hmm.
games that were on the Wii U, games that came out years ago. I mean, I, you have to really, really value portability if you're going to pay $60 for Skyrim next fall. You can get the special edition of Skyrim on the PS4 or the Xbox One for $40 right now. Man, do you have to really value portability to actually drop 60 on it
Hmm.
at the end of the year? Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe enough people will find it appealing enough to do that, but that's also the danger releasing so far after everybody else is y- most companies want to release their games on a new platform at full price, even though it's available on all the other platforms for nearly half that. As we've
Yeah.
seen with the Wii U, that doesn't work. You can't really. I mean, the only people that works for, I mean, is people who only own this one console. So,
Yeah.
man, I mean, if you're just getting into video games and the Switch is your first console, sure, but that's probably not as large of a market, I wouldn't think. So. And Mixtape Troy also points out that Skyrim is a 6-year-old game. That is true. Now, to be fair, the special edition is fairly new. If you completely ignore mods that have been doing the same thing and better for years, ignore that. But the special edition on consoles came out last October. But again, right now you can get them for between $40 and $50. So I'm not sure many people will pay $60 for it next year just for the portability factor of a game that has been available for 6 years. I mean, if it was Resident Evil 7 or something that came out within the last year, maybe. But I mean, Skyrim has been available on everything except the Wii U for years. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, again, it comes down to the portability because I can't imagine there are that many people who want to play Skyrim who haven't played Skyrim at this point, you know? Um,
Really? Yeah. There's not a lot. That specific demographic does not is not a very sizable one,
I mean, maybe
if
there's
it
a couple people
exists.
out there who've just crossed their arms and said, nope, I refuse to play Skyrim until it is portable. It's like, oh my God, Switch, that must have been like, oh, when they saw the Switch commercial last October, like, oh my God, portable Skyrim, finally. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that I think that's enough out of us. We're coming up on 2 hours anyway. Let me check my emails. No, no, nothing in email. Uh, not, no one's tweeted at me. No one's at the door. Oh, oh well. So that is our show for the night. Andrew Eisen here. You type Eisen is how you spell the last name, and I figure I'll plug a couple of videos. There's Mom reacts to her son masturbating, which is a reaction video I did, in which I react to a video of mewling kittens by frantically masturbating, and then I showed that video to my mom and recorded her reaction. Wouldn't you know it that that video has over 1.1 million views? It's by far my most viewed video. Second
And one
behind
of your
that,
least profitable.
yeah, not very profitable though. Second behind that is my sister reacts to brother masturbating to kittens, which is I think like 600,000. And then of course there's the original video, which is called "Why I Don't Do Reaction Videos," which well, I thought it was funny. And I do other videos too, so check it out. And if you find a video, then you don't like it, well, don't watch it again. And if you watch a bunch of my videos and you don't like any of them, don't watch more of my videos. I guess plenty of YouTubers out there doing cool stuff. So I mean, if I was like the only person on YouTube and it was like Andrew or nothing, that I could see where someone would get frustrated if they didn't like my videos. But you know, lots of other stuff.
I don't expect a video service that just plays your videos to be very successful in the long run. But nothing
Trevor,
against you, but
yeah. Really quickly, Trevor McDermott asks, "Have I played Shantae?" Yes, I've played Half Genie Hero because someone, one of my viewers, bought it for me for Christmas. Thank you very much. And it was a lot of fun. And I've also played Pirate's Curse. I have Risky's Revenge. I haven't played it yet. One weird thing about the game is there's. I had to look this up, but there are like two concept pieces of concept art that are not unlocked in the gallery, and it's like, what do you have to do to unlock those? Because the game doesn't tell you. I looked it up online. It's like, beat the game in under 2 hours. I'm like, nah, just for one picture, nah. Maybe I'll do it later, but Jordan says, so should we keep a close eye on trending YouTube news just in case Andrew brutally dies in his sleep? Is he that big on YouTube? No, Andrew is not that big on YouTube. Andrew is. I'm actually a couple subscribers short of 10,000 subscribers. So, in the next couple of, yeah, Jordan, in case you're really wondering, Mr. Anonymous through all this bluster, that's not my IP address, that's not my home address. I don't live in San Francisco. He's about 500 miles off, which is kind of weird because you could just go to my Twitter page right now and see what city I actually do live in.
San Francisco and Los Angeles are the only two cities in California. You got a 50-50 chance of getting you right. Yeah.
That's right. So, anyway, so you can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen, and my Facebook page is Andrew Eisen YouTube. So, I don't know if I'll have a 10,000 subscriber celebration spectacular because I had some ideas, but one was like not feasible, and the other I tried a couple of different ways, and I just don't like it. It's not up to my standards, such as they are. So I'll have to keep thinking on that. I'm open to suggestions. So hey, Twitter, Facebook, message if you have something you think would be fun for a 10,000 subscriber video. I'm open to suggestions because I'm tired. My brain doesn't want to work right now. I've got Yakuza 0. I don't want to do anything except play that.
For your 10,000 subscriber celebration video, you should drink a gallon of Tabasco sauce.
A gallon? That's a lot. I don't want to drink a gallon of water. You know, I mean,
Uh,
maybe.
one of my friends at work showed me this channel, and this guy just apparently the guy is a professional competitive eater, and
Mm,
so he does a bunch of stupid YouTube videos, and one of them is he drinks a gallon of Tabasco sauce. Another one he took like 300 limes and pureed them. Whole limes and pureed them, and then tried
mm.
drinking it all. And
You know,
yeah,
I'm not into torturing myself. I mean,
yeah,
I've done a couple of videos where I eat weird food. I think like a total of two. I did one where my sister and I went to an Asian market and bought a bunch of interesting looking things and did a video about that. I think it's called Andrew makes his sister eat weird food or something like that. And I did a video where I ate a rambutan, which is a fruit I saw at Sprouts and said, "What is this weird spiky fuzzy thing?" and bought it and said, I should, I should document eating this." And it tasted like a grape with a large pit in it. Um, but I don't really care to, like munch on a ghost chili or something. You know, not really into causing myself physical pain. So, but still open to suggestions. I'd like to do something. I am busy for the next couple of weeks, so even if I do have an idea, it's probably going to be a while till I get to it. So, don't subscribe to my channel. Give me more time. Um, anyway, so that's that. Zachary, go ahead and plug away.
all right. If you're interested in things that I put on YouTube, I do have a channel. I've got all of 12 subscribers, I think. And just look for Zachary Knight or Zachary K or something like that, and you'll find me. Um, but yeah, I don't have anything interesting on there. Sorry, guys. I do want to add more. But if you want to find the interesting stuff that I do, you can follow my Twitter at my Twitter feed at Easy Night. And also, I do game development work. It's DK_gaming on Twitter and DivineKnightGaming.com. I'll probably be talking a little bit on both of those about this game concept that I'm working on right now. And hopefully, it's one of those games that it takes me to what I want to do for the rest of the year, game development wise, but it's also something that I believe I could get done pretty quickly. I do have a goal. I'm going to be at Super BitCon at the end of April, which is a local video game convention. And I want to have a new game available for people to play and buy while I'm there, and hopefully this gauntlet style game will be it, and I don't know. The goal is to actually have 4-player local. Local multiplayer for up to 4 players, and if I actually get around to it, maybe I'll add online multiplayer too. But that might be just a pipe dream for my skill level, or at least my interest level, because I don't play online games very often. But also the Oklahoma game development scene. I actually have a couple of things that I want to write about this week, over the next couple of weeks, for interesting things that are happening in the Oklahoma game development area. So check out OK Game Devs on Twitter and okgamedev.com for that. There you go.
All right, and apologies to Shrek in the chat who came for the political discussion, but we're talking about ghost chilies. Well, it's the end of the show. We did talk politics though.
Yep.
Yep. And,
Yep.
and we managed to not swear at each other. So I think it was a productive
Andrew and I have
political
very
discussion.
similar political ideals, so it
That's
makes for not very heated conversations. So
Yep. This is well, we're going to change it from Molehill Mountain to Echo Chamber. The Echo Chamber podcast. That
was
probably
that on
exists.
our was that wasn't on our short list of titles, was it?
I don't think so. That would have been a good one though. Echo Chamber is not a bad. That's got to be taken though. There's got to be an Echo Chamber podcast.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Echo Chamber podcast. Let's do a
okay,
quick
look it
Google
up real
search.
quick.
Yeah, Echo Chamber PR podcast at the Holmes Report, the Echo Chamber PR show at the Holmes Report. Yep. So there is a Echo Chamber podcast. Sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. All the good ones are taken. That's
I'm surprised Molehill Mountain wasn't taken, but
yeah. That's yeah. I'm actually pleased that most people uh really like the title because it's like, are people gonna like that title? Is it gonna work? Are people gonna get it? But everyone really seems to like it. So
yeah.
all right. So thanks everyone for watching. We actually had more viewers than usual tonight, so that's always great to see. Hope you're all enjoying the show, and thanks for supporting us. And hope to see you back next week if we don't all die in nuclear fire.
Yep. Actually, we won't be back next week.
Oh, that's
We're
right.
both going
We
to
will not be back in
be
next.
busy.
Boy, we should have just left it there. It's like, oh God, what happened to them? No. Uh. Yeah. So no episode next Saturday. The 4th.
Yeah, the 4th.
Yeah, the 4th.
Yep.
So no episode next Saturday, and then no, and then we have we'll be back on the 11th, both of us, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we're skipping a week because both Zachary and I have other stuffs. So okay, so that's it. See y'all in 2 weeks. Have a good one. Take care. Bye bye.
All right. See ya. Bye.